In 2005, a bizarre supernatural incident occurred in a family of 6 on Yueming Street, Gushan District, Kaohsiung. The city is located in the southern part of Taiwan and is famous for its well-developed port and industry. The ancient mountains in the southwest are one of the city's 38 jurisdictions and are rich in tourist resources, with Xizi Bay being a well-known destination. As an important cultural area in Kaohsiung, the ancient mountainous area integrates Taoism, Buddhism, and other religious beliefs, preserving many traditional customs. Many public temples can be seen, and kneeling and praying for blessings are a part of some people's lives. In Gushan District, on Yueming Street, a family lived with a strong devotion to gods. The 56-year-old patriarch, Wu Wuyun, and his wife, Cai Yueqing, had 3 daughters and 1 son. Their eldest daughter, Wu Jinu, 28, worked in Taipei. The second daughter, Wu Meihong, was a nurse at a local hospital. The youngest daughter, Wu Mei, was in college in the north. Their son, Wu Wuyun, in his 20s, worked at a local printing house. On Monday, April 11, 2005, a man named Mr. A, who lived on Yueming Street, was watching TV at home when he heard a knock on the door. He opened it to find his neighbor, Wu Wuyun, looking anxious and sluggish. Wu Wuyun urgently told Mr. A to call an ambulance and then hurried away without saying who it was for. Puzzled, Mr. A put on his shoes and walked toward the Wu family's house to investigate. A few minutes later, he entered the 3-story building, which was closely connected to the houses on either side, a common local residential style. The ground floor housed Wu's father's parents. The second floor housed his third brother's family, and the third floor was home to Wu Wuyun's family of 6. As soon as he entered, Mr. A felt a strange atmosphere. There was no sound, and no one answered his shouts. A strange smell hung in the air, and a few flies buzzed around. Driven by curiosity, Mr. A went up the stairs to the 3rd floor. In a bedroom, he was shocked to find the eldest daughter, the 28-year-old Wu Jingnu, lying motionless on the ground. Her limbs were stiff, and she wasn't breathing. Seeing this, a panicked Mr. A immediately left the house and called the emergency number. An ambulance soon arrived and took Wu Jingnu to a hospital 3 kilometers away, but she was pronounced dead on arrival. Doctors noted that her death was unnatural and found scars on her body, so the hospital immediately notified the police. The Kaohsiung Gushan branch police quickly intervened. Forensic results showed that Wu Jingnu's esophagus and stomach were full of excrement, and her body had many bruises and round scars from incense candles. The cause of death was determined to be long-term physical overload, which triggered multiple organ failure. The time of death was April 9, 2 days before the report. At the scene, the house was cordoned off. A black and white exorcism cloth hung from the eaves, and a red piece, a compass, and a yellow talisman paper with spells were on the door. Talisman papers were pasted inside the windows, and black clothes were hung outside the 3rd-floor window, giving the scene an eerie atmosphere. Inside, a strong stench was present. The walls and ceilings were covered with filth, and furniture was tilted. Talisman papers and salt for warding off evil spirits were scattered everywhere. The house was empty, and the family members were missing. In the living room corner, an altar for the 3rd prince, or Neza, was found. On a dining table in the center of the room, there were dishes and chopsticks, but instead of rice, the bowls contained floating paper soaked in water, and the plates held feces. With the mysterious death, the bizarre scene, and the family's disappearance, the case became one of the most unusual in the area. The investigating police officers had never encountered such a terrible case. According to investigations, the Wu family, consisting of Wu Wuyun, 56, and his wife Cai Yueqing, also 56, was a normal, ordinary family. The couple worked odd jobs and led a comfortable life. The eldest daughter, Wu Jingnu, lived in Taipei and ran a bento shop with her boyfriend. The other 3 children lived with their parents. The family was known to be superstitious, often performing rituals and visiting temples. Neighbors told the police that over the past 2 months, the family had been doing rituals and acting strange, causing so much commotion that relatives living in the same building moved out. The police first had to find the family to figure out what happened. 3 days after the alarm, on April 14th, police located the 5 missing family members in a public temple in Tainan City. They all had bruises and incense burn scars similar to Wu Jinu. Shockingly, the five believed Wu Jinu was still alive and that only the demon possessing her body had died. They were taken to the Gushan branch for questioning, but they were deeply afraid and would not speak, fearing that if they told the truth, demons would come for them. Seeing their state, the police temporarily stopped the questioning. Under media and public pressure, and to prevent the five from acting strangely again, the police brought in an artifact called the Emperor's Ruler, a Taoist magic instrument with a legend of dispelling evil spirits. Seeing the artifact, the family slowly let down their guard and began to speak, clarifying the events. 2 months before the incident, in February 2005, the youngest daughter, 22-year-old Wu Mei, returned home from college for winter vacation and began having frequent nightmares, headaches, and insomnia. Someone introduced her to a public temple in Nanzi District, Kaohsiung, to have her soul collected. Her symptoms decreased, but she felt an inexplicable fear. Wu Mei told her parents that she had met the third prince, the god enshrined in their home, who instructed her that her eldest sister, Wu Jinu, must return home from Taipei before the end of the month or her life would be in danger. The superstitious couple, remembering a previous experience with a master who had alluded to unclean things in their home, believed the third prince was warning them. They moved the statue of the third prince back to its original position, where it had been moved on the master's advice, and prayed for protection. They then called the children in Kaohsiung home, and the mother immediately went to Taipei to bring Wu Jinu home. In Taipei, Wu Jinu was surprised to see her mother. After hearing about her sister's prophecy, and influenced by her devout upbringing, she immediately decided to return to Kaohsiung to avoid disaster. The family was relieved when she came home, and her father cooked a celebratory meal. However, the prophecy haunted them. The night she returned, Wu Jinu had a nightmare where she was violated and killed. Waking up in a cold sweat, she feared she had not escaped the catastrophe. Her mother heard the commotion and stayed with her, praying before the ancestral tablets and idols. From that day on, Wu Jinu was tormented by the same nightmare every night and became afraid to sleep. Over time, she became mentally sensitive and fragile, and due to chronic sleep deprivation, she began self-harming. Distressed, her parents took her to the same temple in Nanzi where her sister had gone. Wu Jinu felt her condition improving and planned to return to Taipei, and her parents were relieved. But a few days later, on March 2nd, after a mysterious phone call that only the father answered, Wu Jinu suddenly went into a trance, claiming to be Guanyin Bodhisattva. She entered a state of madness, dancing and laughing, and then began to self-harm, scratching her body and hitting the walls. Her strength seemed to be much greater than usual, and she was covered in bruises. To stop her, the family had to tie her up with ropes. Her parents believed she was possessed by a demon. They spent a sleepless night kneeling before the idols and the next morning took her to the temple again. But her condition did not improve. 2 days later, the family sent their 3 daughters to Wuzhishan Zen in Hsinchu County for a month-long meditation to drive out the demon. While they were away, the parents invited a master to their home. He was a yin and yang feng shui expert who could ask gods to exorcise evil spirits. Upon entering, the master looked embarrassed and said the house was a place of great evil, full of demons. He explained that the house's Lukong location made it easy to gather yin, and moving the third prince's statue had caused the god to leave, allowing the demons to invade. The parents, desperate, followed his advice and prepared items for a ceremony, purchasing a large amount of expensive talisman paper from him. The master performed the exorcism for several days. After the ceremony, the family felt much more relaxed. A month later, the 3 daughters returned home from meditation, and Wu Jinu's mental state was restored. The family was happy, believing the calamity was over. However, the situation escalated. The 3 daughters' sanity began to become confused. They chanted mantras, wanting to return to the divine position. The entire family then went into a state of collective madness. Wu's father claimed to be the Jade Emperor, his wife the Queen Mother. The second daughter said she was the 7 fairies. Wu Jinu was Guanyin Bodhisattva, the youngest daughter was the third prince, and their son claimed to be Jigong. The house became a chaotic arena where the family members beat each other and did puzzling things. They pasted talisman paper all over the house. The daughters wore black clothes and arranged formations, and the son performed a weird dance with incense candles and a statue. Scared, relatives and neighbors moved out. The Wu family became like a cursed, forbidden land. Over the next week, the family, believing each other to be possessed by demons, began to torture one another. They burned each other with incense candles, sprinkled glutinous rice and salt to drive away evil spirits, and used brooms, mops, crutches, and even the statues of gods to beat each other. Wu Wuyun, who was considered the first to be possessed, suffered the most. To purify themselves from the inside out, they refused to eat, consuming only floating water. They also smeared and fed each other feces, believing demons hated filth and would leave their bodies. The family's madness lasted an entire week. It ended on the evening of April 9th, when Wu Wuyun passed away after 2 months of torture. Incredibly, the other 5 family members seemed to feel relief, believing only the demon inside her had died. The nurse daughter, Wu Meihong, instinctively tried first aid for a few minutes before stopping, believing her sister's soul had simply left her body. 2 days later, the 5 family members gradually regained their sanity and realized something was wrong when Wu Wuyun did not wake up. Wu Wuyun then went out and asked Mr. A to call an ambulance. After the incident was revealed, the police hired a psychiatrist to perform mental evaluations on the 5 family members, and to the police's surprise, they were found to have no mental problems. Psychiatrist Zheng Dongsheng inferred that the situation was likely a case of group delusion, a group psychology phenomenon where people believe in an obviously unreasonable or delusional idea and support it, leading to irrational behavior. He noted that this condition is difficult to detect and can become serious when it flares up. After the incident, the prosecution indicted the 5 family members for abandonment causing death, but they denied the crime, insisting they were unconscious at the time. The prosecution ultimately decided not to prosecute. Neighbors and relatives later gathered money to invite a master to exorcise the spirits and transcend the undead. Yumming Street then returned to normal, and the 5 family members gradually went back to their normal lives. The incident, however, is still debated. Some people believe the evil spirit story is a fabrication by the family to avoid guilt. Others think the tragedy was caused by a cult they encountered at the temple. Still others believe the family truly encountered a powerful evil spirit that even the masters couldn't resist. The truth may only be known to the family themselves.